Alright guys, as promised, we got the Galaxy S22, the One UI 7 update. We're going to be revisiting this phone, and this has been a pretty decent phone. The biggest complaint with the S22 has always been the battery life, so I actually do want to start off with that. The battery life has not gotten worse, but it hasn't improved, so if you were curious about that, I've had the update for a few days now. It still drains the same. I do think standby time got a little bit better, but sometimes I would just leave the phone and it would just drain a whole bunch. Like if you just don't use it, it'll just drain a lot. But you know, it's something that you kind of expect with this processor on here. It's not super efficient. Then we also have just a small battery with the S22 here at 3700 milliamps, 25-watt charging. It does have wireless and reverse wireless charging. These are typically going for around $200 in excellent condition on Amazon, eBay. And yeah, it's a solid phone, but it's just one of those phones that you can probably get around like 4 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time. Even if you're like a lighter user, if you're a heavier user, this is a phone that you kind of have to charge in maybe 2-3 hours. But yeah, so that's like the only drawback with this phone, and it's unfortunate because this is a very nice phone. But the people who do buy this phone, typically they'll just get a battery pack or a battery case. It kind of solves it, and I'm okay with that as long as you keep your phone at 80% charge. So this is also One UI 7 feature. It gives you more flexibility with this, so you can go from 85, 90, 95. So I would just keep it at 80 since the battery already isn't that great if you're going to keep this phone, because it does have another MajorOS update as well, guys. Alright, so far this One UI 7 update has been great. We have all of the One UI 7 features here that we all like. The new refresh has really made a lot of these older phones feel really nice and really modern again. And I mean, they were already basically felt like this phone doesn't feel too different from a Galaxy S25 now as far as the software experience. That's why I said the new phones like the S25 series, it was really the software that was really making those phones feel like really cool. And now that we have it on these older phones, I mean, we have the Gemini, new Gemini, that's very much smarter than the Bixby. We can also enlarge our folders, so this is a feature that I actually really like. This is like little small things, you can come in here, click an app from the folder, and something I really like. The Galaxy AI stuff is also here. It has majority of the stuff that the new phones have. What it is it is missing a few things, but for the most part, it's got a lot of the essentials. So you do have Galaxy AI on here. It works really well. And yeah, the One UI 7 update has been great. We can change this is also another cool thing. You can change this now to how you want it to be. And yeah, so I've been really enjoying the update. It's been very smooth. The new animations and everything. You have new charging animations. A lot of people don't like this gigantic clock up here. Not clock, but this gigantic battery indicator. And also the now bar makes its way here, which is just a very nice visual touch for One UI. It kind of reminds you of the dynamic island a little bit. And this will also pop up on the lock screen. You can flick through it if you're playing music from here or something like that. So very cool. The S22 does an okay job with gaming. You can play PUBG at 90 frames. Call of Duty runs really good here on low ultra frames. And yeah, I don't really have an issue. This phone can get a little bit warm with extended periods of gaming. We have 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM on the base model here. And everything is still very smooth. Like, this is not really a slow phone, so if you're a lighter user, you could definitely come in here and play a couple matches of PUBG, Call of Duty, no problem. I would just say if you're an actual mobile gamer, you really want to look at like a S23 Plus, something like that. You get better frame rates, and then also the heating is not going to be a gigantic problem. But yeah, you guys can see it's running pretty smooth. But yeah, so this processor is fine, guys. Animations look really great. The new One UI 7 animations, awesome. Coming in and out of applications, still very smooth. So yeah, I actually think this update is pretty good. You do have a redesigned camera app on One UI, and it just makes phones like this that are already small even easier to manage and hold. And yeah, it's something that I really like, just putting the settings down here. And the S22, as far as the photos go, I think in general it can still give you a pretty good shot. It's a 15 megapixel standard, 10 megapixel telephoto, 3 times optical, and then it goes up to 30 times zoom. And then you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You can still shoot an AK-24 and a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. Just like any other, old flagship, this phone is a little bit soft when it comes to low light. Dynamic range is pretty good, so you get really nice crispy photos. The 3 times telephoto lens is pretty decent on here as well. Colors can be a little bit like too vivid or too colorful. It can kind of give a kind of unrealistic kind of look, but I do really like the shots on here. I think they look great. And honestly, if the color kind of bothers you, you can always just edit the photos. But I think, I think it looks great. The video is also pretty decent as well. But like I said, where you'll see this phone age is really when it comes to kind of low light photography. But yeah, you can still get a pretty good shot out of the S22 for sure. Talking about the fingerprint scanner, so it is an optical one. It works really well, so no issues with that. Face unlock also works great. And also you can enlarge the folders now on One UI, so you can access apps straight from the folder, which is pretty cool. So it's something that I really like. But yeah, so overall the One UI 7 update has been great. I do want to check out the speakers for you guys when I max volume. S22, it does have pretty decent speakers. I mean, they sound okay, but I think the only issue I have with the speakers, they do lack in the bass department, quite a bit. They just sound a little bit flat. But overall, I think they're, just pretty, okay sounding speakers. And yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it. The S22, it's an okay phone. Like I said, I would try to get an S23, guys. It's just a better version of this phone. They really fixed and it wasn't that this phone had big issues. It's just since the chip is not that great and the battery is kind of small, it really suffers in those areas. If you're like somebody who's doing GPS game and stuff like that, it can get a little bit warmer than I would like, and the battery is just not that great. But I do like the design on here. I do like the cutout on here, the matte finish. It's very comfortable. It's not sharp on the edges. And yeah, so what do you guys think